Hello everybody, welcome to the 11th episode of the Wim Blacks podcast. We're delighted that today with us is Ali Niknam. He, before starting an online bank, disrupted the hosting industry in the Netherlands with TransIP. And he's also the founder of the data center group. Ali, my first question to you is, how did you come up with the idea to start a bank?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. The idea to start a bank came a while back. So I had these other companies, TransIP and DCG in short. And I was mainly focused on TransIP, and I was spending a lot of time there, and we attracted a lot of great talent, and this talent grew and grew and grew, and we came to the point that I came to the conclusion that it was best for the company and also for this talent for me to step aside so they could flourish even further. Now this of course gave me a lot of time to wander around and think on what to do with my life. At the time I was still young and I had less grey hairs.
Still not really visible. So.
Well, you're just being charming.
Well, I'm bald, so I know the problem with hair.
And so, I figured on what to do, and I started writing a book because this was a lifelong dream of mine, and it actually got published in Dutch. It's called Ondernemers hebben nooit geluk. Which loosely translates to entrepreneurs never catch a break. And during that book, I kind of look back on all the great things I experienced with TransIP and how it came to be that we got started with literally nothing during my computer science studies, and became the biggest in the Netherlands in just 5 years. And continue to be by far the biggest in the Netherlands, as you might know.
I know. Yeah.
And then I came to the conclusion that I wanted to do something new, because sitting on a beach with a big boat seemed kind of boring to me.
That's where you wrote your book, on that boat?
No, I've never owned a boat.
Okay.
I'm actually quite a focused hard worker, as it turns out, and it appeared to me that I like to do two things. One, I really like to build new products that delight people, that surprise people, that people love to use. Creating new products is what I really live for. And secondly, that I wanted to do something with a material community impact. And so I wondered a bit around, maybe to do something with the environment, maybe go to Africa, do something with water. And then it dawned to me that, that's not really me. And at the same time, the financial crisis started.
Exactly.
And
so when was this about?
About 2010, 2011.
Okay.
And, I saw a lot of people getting hurt. A lot of my fellow friends couldn't get mortgages anymore or came into problems because of the housing prices. A lot of my entrepreneurial friends got into problems. Some literally went bankrupt because they couldn't get credit anymore. And at the same time, I saw people just being angry at each other and shouting things at each other, and suddenly all bankers were the devil, and the bankers, I've come to learn a lot of bankers, I have to say, with the exception of a few, most are not the devil.
It's a system, not the person
it's
per se.
It's a system. Well, there are some evil persons, but mostly it's a system.
Yep.
And, the solutions didn't really feel like solutions to me. They were more like patchwork. And then it dawned on me like, okay, well, this is a system that is really affecting everybody in society. And it's completely clear that it's completely flawed and nobody's really solving it. So I figured, okay, let's start doing things differently so we can completely fix the system.
Great. And obviously the financial industry is huge.
Yes.
What part of the system are you now fixing?
Well, I think up until that part, and even today, all banks are roughly the same. If you go to ING, for instance, which is of course a huge Dutch bank for those who don't know, and you change their orange color to green, and you change the banners a little bit, you can distinguish it from ABN AMRO, which is another Dutch bank. Many banks offer the same products, offer the same type of service, by and large employ the same type of people. So there's really no freedom of choice. And our profound belief is that the financial crisis was a systemic crisis because there is no diversity in the system. All the suppliers are roughly the same, and as we know from nature, it doesn't matter how strong the tree is or how strong the crop is. If it's a monoculture, sooner or later it's going to run into trouble, because the way nature solves resiliency is by having a lot of diverse, different crops. Maybe one grows a little bit more when it's sunny, maybe the other grows a little bit more when it's rainy, and so the balance as a whole is very stable. And so what we try to do with bunq is to do things differently. So for the first time in a very long time, there's the freedom of choice. You have all these traditional banks, you have ABN AMRO, you have ING, you have Rabobank in the Netherlands. If you go to Germany, you have Deutsche Bank, Commerzbank. Well, all these guys, I would all categorize them as traditional banks where you roughly get the same experience on the one hand. And then you have bunq, Bank of the Free, where you get this completely different service, completely different product, completely different user experience. And so for the first time in a long time, you as a user are able to choose between, do I want to stick with the old dinosaurs that offer a certain benefit, or do I want to go with new guys that offer me the freedom of choice, that empower me to do whatever I want, that help me save time, that allow me to, do everything from my mobile phone, so I never have to go to the bank branch? Or, and this is also a solution, do I want to use both? Use one for a certain group of things and use the other for a different group of things.
And so you said, we eliminate the retail network of banks. You're able to manage all your banking affairs with a mobile app. What kind of differentiators are in the app? Because ING or ABN AMRO also have an app.
Yes. Well, I think it's not. The goal of bunq is not to eliminate the retail branch of the banks. The goal of bunq is to supply a completely different user experience. A user experience where you are in control, where you are the person who decides what happens, and a user experience that is as convenient and easy and smooth as possible. Okay. That is the mindset.
So you develop bunq from a UX perspective.
Precisely. Okay. So if you have that mindset, then given the current technology and state of affairs, the logical consequence is that you have this great app that is beautiful and easy to use. And it's not the other way around. So I think if you take that into consideration, then it becomes very clear that yes, the other banks have apps too. But for them, an app is just a channel. For us, you, and making you happy, is our sole raison d'être, is our sole purpose. And we do that with the app today, and maybe someday we will do it through some other way, but we are here to make sure that you are in control and have the freedom of choice to do whatever you want, whenever you want, and with whomever you want.
And actually, I did some user research here in the office at Dept, and one of my colleagues, Daniel Bonacci, who is our strategy director, he showed me the app, and he showed some functionalities like scanning invoices or having the opportunity to open multiple IBAN accounts very easily, so multiple banking accounts.
Yeah.
How do you get this information? How do you do your user research?
Yeah, I think one of the cool things at bunq is that we are really close with our users. We are a very open platform where many of our users are on together.bunq.com, and we can share ideas, knowledge, and experiences together. We spend a lot of time making sure that we are present on that platform, and that we look very closely on what our users want. So that's one big way, and the second way is because of our tech background, bunq is founded by tech guys. I'm a coder by heart. We are very observant into what people want and the struggles they deal with in everyday life. For instance, the invoice scanning, that will help any entrepreneur. I mean, I don't know if you know an entrepreneur who likes to do the administrative tasks, but I don't know any. I always used to dislike it. It was my least favorite thing to do as an entrepreneur. And so, using that as input, we try to make an entrepreneur's life more easy, and then we come up with the solution. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if you have an invoice and you just tap the button on your phone and it fills in all the payment details and you get a picture of the invoice and you don't have to do any manual labor anymore. So these are the two ways that we try to stay close with our users.
And we're both Tesla drivers.
Yeah.
You compared yourself a little bit to how Tesla was founded. Tesla is a computer on wheels.
Yeah.
Would you say bunq is an IT company in finance, or are you a bank as we look at them from a traditional perspective?
I would say that we are a company that truly cares about our users' needs.
Okay.
We use tech to do that in the most efficient and most pleasant way possible.
Yeah.
And the location where we just happen to start is banking.
Okay. So what's next?
Time will tell.
Okay.
Time will tell. Banking is still a very huge challenge. So let's
Indeed.
fix that first, and then we look further.
Indeed. And well, you said before that you
Just like Tesla, by the way, is more of an energy company than a car company.
Indeed, with the power batteries and solar city.
Yeah.
And flying people to the moon,
Yeah.
maybe with his other company to Mars. So you said before that you try to be the bank of the free, and also for entrepreneurs provide freedom with services like invoice scanning.
Yes.
If you look at your target audience, and you would divide them, how does that look? Consumer banking versus business banking.
I think we try to target humans and persons in their full glory and the full diversity of what humans do. So if you look at our demographic, we have a lot of people aboard. Bunkers, as some call themselves, being part of the bank of the free. So what we try to do is make human life as easy and seamless as possible. Now, if you happen to have your own business, that's fine. If you have a couple of employees, that's fine. If you are an employee yourself, that's fine. If you want to live together with someone, that's fine. If you are a tech lover and want to see it's fine. So we try to aspire to, your desires as a human being rather than just chop you up in some kind of group and try to address the group.
Cool. And go back to that, looking at people from a human perspective. You're obviously a company that has just started, if you compare yourself to the more old-fashioned banks. Yeah. That also means, and that's also a comment that Daniel, my colleague, made, he said that he was still a bit hesitant to transfer large sums of money through bunq. Yeah. Compared to, the old-fashioned look of ING, where you know that the trustworthiness is being taken care of. Yeah. How are you dealing with that factor? How are you trying to get yourself on par with the trustworthiness that some of the larger banks might have? I mean, there are a lot of scandals that are happening with them, but still, if you want to transfer a large sum of money, then with ING or with ABN AMRO that's being taken care of, and there's a lot of laws behind it to ensure that your money is safe. With bunq, obviously, these laws apply as well. But how are you taking care of that mindset that Daniel still had?
Yeah. Well, I think a part of the answer is what you just said. bunq adheres to the precise same laws and principles as all the other banks. So your money is guaranteed up to 100,000 euros, like any other bank. Yeah. Because we fall under the deposit guarantee scheme.
And is that per IBAN or overall?
Like any other bank, it's per user.
Per user?
Person.
Per person, okay.
Per person. Now, as for the perception, I think time will need to do its work a little bit. Yeah. But let me ask you a question. Let's say you have 2 doors. Behind door number 1, there's a banker. Behind door number 2, there is a coder, a programmer. You need to entrust one of the 2 with something very private and very secret that is important to you. It might be money, it might be something else. It might be your privacy, it might be, you want to share something with someone. Which of the doors would you pick? The banker or the coder?
Well, if I look at myself from an entrepreneurial and tech perspective, I would go for the coder because I know the magic they can do. If I look at like the larger audience in the Netherlands, then I still think people would now pick a majority of people would still pick the banker because of the feeling they have that maybe a coder is associated with blockchain technology or other things that they still find a bit scary. So the awareness for...
I'm pretty convinced that if you ask Daniel the same question, precise door number 1 there's a banker, door number 2 there's a coder.
He will give you the answer of the coder.
He would give the answer of the coder. And we have 2 more people here. I'm pretty convinced if we would ask them, they would say the same thing. So there's a disconnect between the people we trust and the institutions we trust. And sooner or later, this disconnect is going to get aligned. People will be like, hey, wait a minute. If I trust coders more, if I trust tech guys more, or if I trust, small businesses more, rather than large corporates, why do I trust the institution that is run by these people more? So this is just a matter of time.
Okay, great. Looking at your internationalization in this podcast, the Wim Lex Show, we have a lot of listeners from Germany. You started your activities.
I love Germany. I was just at the Oktoberfest.
Really? Great. Cool. You obviously started in Germany as well. We have a lot of German colleagues, and if I look in general also on the sites and apps we develop in Germany, there's one thing that always strikes me, and that's how Germans are perceiving data security and their privacy. Much more than the Dutch, I would say.
Yes.
How do you deal with that as a bank?
Well, I think one of the nice things of bunq is one of our pillars was, of course, that we don't sell your private information. So privacy has always been at the core of who we are. Because, again, if we go back to the foundation of our ideology and the way we think is we want to make sure that your desires as a human being are being addressed. We want to delight you with what we do. That's our starting point, right? So we don't think that you would feel comfortable. I wouldn't feel comfortable if somebody would sell my personal data. So why would I found a company that does this to other people? So I think we're very well positioned for the German market. Also because...
So what's your growth strategy for Germany specific?
Well, it's the same as in the Netherlands. We give you an app that makes your life easier with the security of a banking license that will empower you to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want. That makes you feel like you're part of something instead of, you just being a slave to this big corporate institution, and an app that actually applies and adjusts to your way and your style of living, so you can be free.
Okay. And in terms of marketing resources and staffing,
yes.
How does your German growth trajectory look like?
Well, the way we like to do these things is we like to start really small and under the radar, gather the first group of bunq users, really look at how they use the app, what they like, what they don't like, because paying is something very personal. It's very intimate. During the day, there is not many things, maybe refreshing Facebook or Instagram or whatever you do, but apart from those things, paying is the thing you do most during a day. So it's a very intimate relationship you have, and it's also a relationship you have with other people. right? You go to the baker, there's a transaction, you pay. You go to your coffee lady, there's a transaction, you pay. And because it's such intimate process, there are differences. There are small differences that you might have noticed as well between the Germans and the Dutch and the Spanish and the Spanish and the Italian. So
because those are two other markets that you recently launched, Italy and Spain.
Yeah. Okay. So what we like to do is we like to take our time and see what it is that people like locally in their way of living and what it is that can be improved. And then we take our time to make sure that they come to a level where they really notice that bunq is really adding value to their lives. Like Daniel, in your case, that is super enthusiastic. How many people do you know that are enthusiastic about a bank, right? That by itself is so special.
He loves design and UX, and
there we go.
That's one of his traits, but I agree.
There we go. So we try to get up to that level, and when we hit that level, then we go on.
Okay. Cool. And hitting that level and growing more rapidly. We obviously have seen a large fintech IPO in the Netherlands of Adyen.
Yes.
And I read in the news that you also said in your annual report that you might be open for external investments to speed up growth.
No, that's really not the case.
Okay.
That's grossly inaccurate, actually.
Okay. It was on the Dutch national newspaper, so they incorrectly stated that.
Yes. First of all, it wasn't in our annual report. Second of all, what happened is that I got asked, hey, what if someday an investor would knock on the door? What would happen then? I said, well, I won't say no upfront to anybody because I think that would, I don't think it's a smart thing to say no upfront to anything. I mean, you have to consider your choices, but the chance of us attracting investors at the time is not very big.
Okay.
That's what I said. And
so you're still financing it yourself now?
Yes.
Okay.
And that got turned into bunq is open for investments, and that made all the headlines. Because we're such a loved brand in the Netherlands, people pay a lot of attention to what we do.
And you're a well-known figure here as well, so I imagine that helps as well.
Yeah.
And so you plan to finance your growth strategy in Germany, in Spain and Italy yourself?
It depends.
Okay.
It depends. There too, we do what makes sense.
Okay.
So up until now, because we like to take our time and make sure that you as an end user get this amazing experience that you can't have anywhere else, we decided to fund it ourselves.
Okay.
Or I decided to fund it myself, to be more precise. Because I like to have the space and time to really invest in that relationship with our end users. Now, traditional investors, there's nothing wrong with that, but of course they have a different goal in mind. They just want to have a return on their investment within 3 to 4 years, sometimes 5 years. That has to match with the state of the company that you're in.
Okay.
So if I would have done that 5 years ago, they would have expected a return by now, which is, I think, way too early. My horizon is way longer.
Focusing on growth now.
I'm focusing on growth by making
users.
our end users happy, and this is the fundamental thing.
Yeah. And in terms of, you talked a lot about end users and also your view on growth and finance, and also how you start small but really get the information you need in other markets. Looking at your company and the people that work at your company, how many bunkers are there right now?
We are about 90 people now.
90 people.
Yeah.
How do you call them? Bunkers?
Well, that's an interesting thing by itself, because we started to call ourselves bunkers inside of the walls, but then we noticed that many of the users that use bunq also call themselves bunkers. So there too you see that the community, and it's all very much intertwined.
Yeah. Oh, nice. And looking back at the bunkers that work in your office, what I could see from the outside is that you're like an inspirational figure and also a hardworking figure. So you probably request most of your people. And if you read some comments on Glassdoor, there are very positive ones. But also some people who say that it's really like a work hard, play hard culture. What kind of people do you think thrive best at bunq?
Well, I think work hard, play hard really sums it up well. I think you can compare us to the special forces. So we have a lot of very bright, very determined people.
Okay.
Just last night, I had an appointment at 9, and somebody came in and he noticed this energy and this vibe that is present at bunq.
Yeah.
And that is very special. We have a lot of people who used to be top athletes or top musicians. So that's really the mindset you have to have at bunq to thrive and succeed. And the flip side to that is that if you have that mindset, there are not that many companies that really embrace that and provide you with an environment where that is appreciated and cultivated. So if you know people with that mindset, please let them know there's one company in the Netherlands where they are very much appreciated.
Cool. And what's the average age at bunq?
I believe it's 28 now.
Okay. Are you looking for talented youngsters, or are you mostly finding a nice balance between also experience and talent?
Well, we don't believe in a dogmatic approach at bunq. So we are looking for talented, dedicated, bright people. If you're 16, we've had 16-year-olds, that's fine. If you're 60, we've had 60-year-olds.
16 was the age that you started your first company, I believe.
16 was the age I started my first company. Okay. Yeah, and we had an intern that totally loved bunq last summer. He wanted to spend the entire summer with us, and we accommodated that, although we normally don't do it. But for him, because he was smart, he was passionate, he was energetic, we told him, look, you're a special kid, we're not going to let you go, please come over. We had a great time, he did a great job. A couple of months ago, something similar happened with a 17-year-old who celebrated his 18th birthday at bunq. So we are a very special group of people.
Cool. Wow.
And I'm really proud of each and every one of them.
Okay. And if I look at you as an entrepreneur, I said in the introduction to the listeners that you're the founder of TransIP, owner of the data center group, and now bunq. You have 3 companies, basically. Yeah. How do you divide your time?
What I really like to do is focus on one thing and then do that really, really well. And that one thing currently is bunq.
Okay.
Both at DCG, which I co-founded, and at TransIP, which I founded, we have a lot of amazing talent.
Okay.
And I like to work with people I trust and I rely on for a longer period of time. So what you can see now is that those companies are being run with people I know for years that are similar-minded to the people we have at bunq now. They're very much dedicated, very bright, and super focused. The crème de la crème. And I fully trust them with my eyes closed to do probably better than I could do myself. And
so you're not in the office on a daily basis anymore?
No, frankly, I'm very much ashamed because I still am very much emotionally attached to both companies, but I'm very much ashamed that I don't have the space and time to visit them more often. I think because TransIP has 4 offices now since our latest acquisition. I've been doing my best to visit the new offices, but I haven't been able to do so. And if there's one thing I really dislike of my current situation is that I don't have more time to spend with the people I like.
It's always a challenge as an entrepreneur when you're so focused on
yes.
delivering quality on one thing.
Yes, you can't have it both ways. So.
True. Yeah. We are starting to wrap this conversation up. My final question is, what do you see as the key challenges for bunq to succeed in this fintech world?
I think the key challenge is the mindset that we discussed earlier. I think that I would like to ask many people who hear this or who hear something about bunq from a friend to give it a try. You can try bunq, no strings attached. You get the app within 5 minutes. You get to experience all the amazing things that makes bunq bunq. If you use it properly and you really use it, you start to see how it makes you feel free, so you can be part of Bank of the Free. Use it, It's completely free the first 30 days. Use it, be part of it, experience it, and then decide whether it's for you or not.
Cool. Great. Well, thank you so much, Ali, for being in this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Great insights for our listeners, and I'm one of those persons that will try the app for 30 days and experience if I'm one of the bunkers for the future. So thanks again. This closes the 11th podcast of the Wim Lex Show. Thank you for listening.